Good morning, everyone. Let me recognize the Senator, the Honorable Paula Kupi-Skoon. Let me also recognize Mr. Calvin Bijou, the Chairman of Creative TT. And I'd also like to recognize all the other directors of all the companies, the sub-companies, film and fashion, along with the GMs of all the company. Special mention of Ms. Melissa Jimenez and her team at MusicTT. Members of the media, stakeholders, musicians, let me welcome all of you to this wonderful session today. At the beginning of 2019, if anyone had told us almost 2 years would go by and the world would be struggling with a pandemic that halted every corner of the world, we would say, no way. It has to be a futuristic sci-fi movie. But then we are all living it and have all been affected by it. One of the most disadvantaged and affected industries was the music industry. Ultimately, the goal of music is to bring people together, bask in a common sound, and feel the same emotions. But with the pandemic, that was not a possibility. COVID-19 is not only a global pandemic and a public health crisis, it has also severely affected the global economy and the financial markets. Significant reductions in income, a rise in unemployment, and disruptions across industries has taken place. The Caribbean economy was severely hit by the pandemic, so much so we are allegedly still in the eye of the storm. Recently, UWI professor Justin Robinson said at a roundtable discussion in the SBG, the Caribbean will continue to experience economic pains even after COVID-19 pandemic comes to an end, stating, this is horrendous. It makes the financial crisis of 2008 looks like nothing. However, we are a resilient people. It was Naji Abi Hashem who stated, resiliency refers to the human potential or spirit to positively and successfully face adversity, tolerate ambiguity, cope with crises, handle pressure, and recover from disaster or tragedy. A simple definition of resiliency can be presented as something like bouncing back, enduring toughness, coping nicely, hanging in there, surviving well, recovering adequately, exhibiting strength, weathering tribulation, being resourceful, springing forward, and overcoming. In every society, some traits and peculiarities bind people together. The essence that makes them unique and different. This is their culture. Several studies have supported the idea that culture can be incorporated into resilience and does, in fact, promote it. In 2004, Klaus Ehlers defined culturally focused resilient adaptation as how culture and the socio-cultural context have an effect on resilient outcomes. The broad area of cultural resilience has been researched in many ways across the globe and has confirmed the socio-cultural context of any place, and it has an effect on culture. Trinidad and Tobago culture can be seen in the way every stakeholder sees it, especially in the creative industry. Immediately, we all rallied around when the pandemic hit. Creatives in TNT came together as an umbrella body of the collective to discuss pathways of resistance. The government provided intervention with grants through the Ministry of Culture. The private sector made donations, anonymous donations in some cases. Financial institutions offered support and loans. And then, of course, a lot of our creatives also found other means by moving to other countries for more open opportunities. Like many other sectors, the entertainment and media industry has been significantly impacted, and we are still struggling, although slowly recovering, with notably severe impacts on cinemas, live music, and advertising sales. As outlined in PwC's 2020 report, What's next for media? They added that as people turn to music for emotional support and comfort in these tough times, any negative impact on music listening has been more limited. There have, however, been immediate implications for some income streams. The cancellation or postponement of most live music events has hit many artists, another hit coming from the reduction in physical sales from the closure of retail stores. Touring is at the very core of how artists, managers, event staffers make money. Tickets, merchandise sales at shows make up the bulk of what Forbes magazine calls highest paid musician earnings. In an interview, performer and composer Ruba Red, who was actually a trip hop artist out of London, says the impact of the virus didn't feel sudden. It was a creeping sensation. She had a debut headline show taking place last year, 11th of March, and during the week of rehearsals, her team became increasingly aware that Corona may have an impact on their lives, but they had no idea how much. She said that the concert felt like a shrinking opportunity to sing live and connect with people in the real world for who knows how long. Though they were able to go ahead successfully with the show, which she's grateful for at that time, the growing realization dawned on her that the live music scene within the space of a week had been completely shut down. From then on, it was one grand funding application for more money from PRS, from Help Musicians, from Arts Council. She was lucky enough to have at least one last show in. However, this is not the same for the majority in the music industry. There was a sense of panic in the industry as musicians had their entire livelihoods suddenly ripped from them with no end in sight, falling between the cracks of government support, having to rely on charity and relief funds. One of the upsides to the unfortunate situation was it beamed a light on and magnified some of the everyday struggles many artists face, such as revenue distribution between artists, record labels, streaming platforms, resulting in pressure on streaming platforms and record labels for a fairer distribution of revenue. There's also been the positive pressure to create live stream gigs, teach online, create content for virtual projects, work on mixes, writing at home. Although this had its stressful characteristics, it is under this pressure that incredible arts have been developed. Music, art, and culture have been some of the grounding factors and motivators during lockdown for a lot of people. And the artist has continued to be resilient and versatile. According to Aruba, she has been embracing the art of surrender, the knowing that we cannot control the impact of COVID-19 on the music industry, but we can remain deeply connected with our creativity, fluidity, and adaptability, forging new ways to connect with people. As the world went on lockdown, country by country, there was the expectation that there would be a rise in music streaming consumption. However, initial indicators showed the opposite. The streaming consumption fell relative to pre-COVID-19 levels. The New York Times reported last year that the combined streams of the top 200 on Spotify in the US slipped for the third consecutive week in the month of April, hitting the lowest point of the year. One of these drivers is that music consumption tends to be an activity that coexists with other things. For example, commuting to work, time spent in cars, going to the gym, and these were all severely cut back and entirely lost during the lockdown. With all of these, where's the future of the music industry heading, you might ask? And on that, I say the future of the music industry, although tough, is definitely bright. In PwC's report, they stated, while COVID-19 will negatively impact some revenue streams, music publishing should hold much of its ground, as it has in prior downturns, and the recorded music sector is more resilient now than before. The continued demand trend should continue and is likely to accelerate, which will help support the valuation of music rights assets. In recent years, there's been significant increase in investing in the music sector, with demand for investment driving the price and earning multiples achieved for recording assets up closer to the level of publishing assets, multiples for which have also continued to increase. Despite the short-term reduction in performance and sync revenue available to rights owners due to COVID-19, valuations of music assets, both publishing and recording, are expected to be relatively resilient. However, there may be some limit to the rate of growth in valuations post-COVID-19, given at some point the newer distribution models must mature. Additionally, continuing convergence between media channels presents further opportunities for music, whether that be via gaming, social, or other means of delivery. Utilizing this breadth of channels to market to build further engagement with fans will also be key to driving success. In 2019, the live music industry was worth over $20 billion, a rich ecosystem of artists, venues, ticket sellers, production companies, vendors, travel operations. But as we all know, over the past year, nearly every in-person music venue around the world has been silent, and virtual concerts, live streaming have become the default. In the void, artists and producers like Sophie Tucker, Timbaland, Swiss Beat, BTS, and countless others have tried to find other ways to keep the show going. The show must go on. BTS record-breaking pay-per-view concert in October 2020 sold over 1 million tickets. YouTube saw over 500,000 channels live stream something for the first time over the past year, while the watch time of live music performances on TV screens doubled, showing a significant increase in viewers' appetites. According to Brian Pennick, a music executive, he says, coming out of this, we'll have two types of musicians. The first will be the embraced musician, and the second will be the impacted. The embraced musician is the entrepreneur birthed out of necessity, living by the creed of desperate times call for desperate measures. These individuals will find every opportunity to sustain their careers. Performing live stream concerts at home, video messaging with fans, custom songwriting for hire, teaching lessons online, continuing education, and even writing catchy pandemic theme songs are all creative outlets to explore. The embraced musician will create an opportunity out of what others deem a crisis. The impacted musician, however, will not fare so well. While everyone has their own unique circumstances and privilege that need to be taken into account, there will be some musicians who objectively view the pandemic as a brick wall that cannot be climbed. The desire may be there, but the motivation to put in tangible action may be lacking. Regardless of their reasoning, the impacted segment will have an even more difficult time post-pandemic casually reapproaching music, from repetitive live performances to infrequent social media marketing and unwillingness to adapt to new technology. Musicians who continue with the business as usual philosophy will be further distanced from those who embrace the change. The real question in closing, what type of musician are you? What kind of creative are you? I ask that you be an embraced musician. I ask that you be an embraced creative. I trust with our cultural resilience, we will deal with this change and continue to develop. Do have an exciting day and looking forward to networking with you later. Thank you very much.